Travis Kelce's recent month could be described as nothing short of a saga, a mix of drama, triumph, tension, and raw emotion that plays out both on the gridiron and in the glare of the pop culture spotlight. If you follow the NFL even casually, you've seen the headlines. The Kansas City Chiefs star tight end was slapped with a hefty $14,491 fine by the league for an obscene gesture, found himself caught in a tense sideline clash with legendary head coach Andy Reid, helped lead his team to a big win against the New York Giants, and on top of that, he got engaged to Taylor Swift. It is the kind of month that blurs the line between sports reporting and celebrity gossip, the kind of story that reminds you why Kelce is such a magnetic, larger-than-life figure in today's NFL. The first major ripple came during Kansas City's narrow 2017 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, a game that already carried emotional weight given the Chiefs' history with that franchise. During the contest, Kelce made a gesture that the NFL deemed obscene, a quick, almost instinctive motion toward his groin area after a play. While some fans brushed it off as harmless and even humorous, the league office took a different view, issuing Kelce a fine for unsportsmanlike conduct. For most players, a five-figure penalty might serve as a wake-up call, a moment to reflect and reel things in. But Kelce is known for wearing his heart on his sleeve, and for him, this wasn't so much about punishment as it was about passion spilling over in a high-stakes moment. He's the kind of player who celebrates big plays with chest-thumping intensity and reacts to setbacks with the same fire. His career has been built on intensity, the sort that can electrify a stadium, inspire teammates, and occasionally get him into hot water. But if the fine was just one of those occupational hazards of being Travis Kelce, what happened the following Sunday night took things to another level. Chiefs were playing under the bright lights of MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants, and the offense had been sputtering through the first half. In the second quarter, Kelce caught a short pass that actually lost yardage, a rare misstep for the future Hall of Famer. That play set up a long 40-yard field goal attempt for Harrison Butker, who uncharacteristically missed. Cameras quickly panned to the sideline where Kelce, helmet still on, approached Andy Reid. What happened next became an instant talking point across sports media. Reid was already visibly upset, and as Kelce got closer, the coach leaned toward him, barking what looked like a string of heated words. Reid even gave Kelce a shoulder bump, a rare physical gesture from the usually stoic coach. Kelce fired something back, shaking his head, clearly unhappy, before turning and walking down the sideline. To those who have followed the Chiefs closely, the moment carried echoes of another viral incident, the 2024 Super Bowl. That was the game where, after a costly fumble, Kelce himself had bumped Reid and shouted at him in an explosive moment that became one of the most replayed clips of the night. Back then, Reid downplayed the exchange, saying it was simply a player who wanted to be back on the field helping his team win. He called it a love tap, laughed it off, and moved on. But this latest sideline dust-up had a different tone. Reid didn't look amused. Kelce didn't look like he was shrugging it off. Tension was palpable, and the image of the two men clashing became the highlight of the night on social media. Sports analysts spent the next 24 hours dissecting the exchange. Was this a sign of deeper issues between coach and player? Was Kelce frustrated with his own play, with the offensive scheme, or with something entirely different? Talking heads on ESPN and FS1 debated whether Reid's reaction was warranted and whether Kelce had crossed a line in responding. Former NFL players chimed in, some arguing that these types of spats happen all the time on the sidelines and that cameras just happened to catch this one, others warning that repeated clashes between a star player and his head coach can be dangerous for locker room chemistry. Conversation spilled over onto social media, where Chiefs fans took sides, some defending Kelce's passion and others insisting he needed to show more respect to the man who has guided the team to multiple Super Bowl victories. And yet, in typical Kansas City fashion, the team didn't just implode under the weight of the drama. Instead, they regrouped, tightened up their play, and ultimately crushed the Giants 2-9. Kelce may have been visibly frustrated earlier, but as the game wore on, his competitive fire seemed to channel into his play. He ran crisper routes, made key blocks, and was there for Mahomes on a couple of critical third-down conversions. It was a reminder that, for all the off-field chatter, Kelce remains one of the most dominant forces in football when it matters. But to talk about Kelce right now without mentioning his off-field life would be impossible because in some ways it's just as big a story as anything happening on the field. After months of speculation, grainy paparazzi shots, and sly lyrical Easter eggs at concerts, Kelce and Taylor Swift finally confirmed that they are engaged. The announcement sent shockwaves through both the sports and entertainment worlds. Suddenly, Chiefs fans who had never listened to a Swift album were debating her discography, and Swifties who had never watched a football game were learning about pass interference rules. Their engagement felt like a cultural crossover event with memes flooding X, Instagram, and TikTok. Some joked about Swift performing at halftime shows in the future, while others gushed about what an NFL-themed wedding might look like. The news added a layer of romance to Kelce's otherwise turbulent month, a reminder that outside of football, he's living a love story that's captivating millions. All of this, the fine, the sideline clash, the big win, and the engagement, makes Travis Kelce's recent run feel like a chapter in an ongoing epic. His story is no longer just about football stats and highlight reels. It's about leadership, pressure, public scrutiny, and how an athlete navigates the balance between professional obligations and personal milestones. For some players, moments like this can be overwhelming. For Kelce, they seem to be fuel. Time and again, he has shown that he can turn criticism into motivation, coming back sharper and more focused after every controversy. If anything, the firestorm of attention only seems to sharpen his competitive edge. It is this mix of volatility and brilliance that makes Kelce so compelling to watch. When he lines up on Sunday, you can't look away because you know you might witness a jaw-dropping catch, a sideline blow-up, or a celebration that becomes an instant meme. He is both a superstar athlete and a cultural figure whose life plays out like a reality series in real time. Chiefs season is far from over, and as they continue their push for another playoff run, all eyes will be on Kelce, not just to see what he does on the field, but to see how he channels the whirlwind around him into something powerful. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that when Travis Kelce feels the pressure, he usually delivers. And perhaps that is the most fascinating part of this entire month for Kelce, that he is simultaneously living through the most scrutinized stretch of his career and also some of the most joyful moments of his personal life. There's a certain poetry in that duality. The warrior who clashes with his coach under the glare of stadium lights is the same man who drops to one knee and proposes to one of the most famous women in the world. There is a narrative tension there that feels almost cinematic, and it keeps fans and media invested not just in what happens next week against the Chargers or the Bills, but in what happens next in his life. Will we see a calmer, more centered Kelce as he steps into this new chapter of adulthood and commitment? Or will we see an even more fiery competitor, determined to prove that he can juggle love, fame, and football all at once? What we do know is that this is a story still being written, one game, one moment, and one headline at a time. Kelce's career has always been about more than numbers in a stat line. It's about energy, swagger, and the raw emotions that come with being a competitor at the highest level. Whether he's making a crowd roar with a one-handed catch, firing back at his coach on the sideline, or smiling in a candid photo with Taylor Swift, he has mastered the art of staying at the center of attention. And as the Chiefs chase another championship, his every move will continue to be magnified.